Codemasters have always been at the forefront when it comes to both racing games and technology, with both Dirt 2 and Dirt 3 being early adopters of DirectX 11, and while I was hoping that Dirt Rally would be an early adopter for DirectX 12, it wasn't. Does Codemasters' newest release signify a return to Dirt form after 2012's somewhat disappointing Dirt Showdown? If you're coming into this expecting all the over-the-top modes and cars from Dirt 3, you're probably going to be in for a bit of a shock, as Dirt Rally is pretty stripped back in terms of bells and whistles, and aims to focus entirely on the rally experience as you might expect from the name. What Codemasters have managed to create here is a brutally accurate simulation of rally driving. It's a lot more tense, the stakes are a lot higher, and it's a lot more about your skill rather than the parts you put into your car, though that does help, sometimes. Gone are the racing modes like Gymkhana and drifting, though you still do have a number of options that include career, league and custom races that will allow you to set up things like championships, hill climbing events and Rally X. The breadth of things to do has been reduced, but there's still plenty of meat here to sink your teeth into. At first glance, career mode takes a similar approach to Dirt 3. You start in a certain class and complete a number of events. Where it differs though is having to purchase cars to compete in certain events. Theoretically, you can earn enough credits to buy cars in non-sequential order. You'll just need to spend a lot less time damaging a car and a lot more coming first. I don't think I've ever actually played a game with quite this kind of brutal approach. Much of the damage your car takes is persistent, so if you smash your headlights in one race, you're going to have to deal with that in the next race. You'll also find the game is unforgiving of those who total their cars as well. If you wipe out in the first bend of a race, that's it. You'll forfeit the championship you're in, regardless of how well you were doing up to that point. It's a lot more realistic and forces you to take care of your car if you want to see it through to the end of a championship. The persistent damage brings me to part of the game I actually really like. It's insanely difficult to maintain a perfectly intact car during the kinds of conditions you'll be racing in, and while the damage does carry over, you can hire a team who'll work on your car between races. Much like Euro Truck Simulator, the more you pay for someone, the better the work is, so finding a middle ground is key because you're going to want to buy another car at some point. The Leagues option is an interesting one, especially if you're creating one for yourself and your friends. Competitions take place in the form of seasons, and it's up to you to set the vehicle restrictions and pick the conditions that people will race in. This is a great way to set up some interesting rivalries with like-minded friends, or if you're the braver sort, you can join one of the bigger leagues and see how well you do against people worldwide. The Hillclimb mode is just a tiny bit insane, as the cars are completely over the top in terms of power and handling. The idea here is you're trying to get to the top of a really big hill with more twists and turns than any reasonable person will want to navigate. These races are really long and are the perfect way to test your skills with some truly awe-inspiring vehicles. Rally X is a little more familiar to me, with a grid set up at the start of each race. For the most part though, you'll only see 4 cars in the races. The goal here is to get the shortest time possible over a number of heats. I wouldn't say this is as exciting as the rally maps or hill climbing, but Rally X is great if you're after something short. Each course in Dirt Rally looks amazing, and Codemasters have gone out of their way to pack as much detail in as possible. Everything looks and feels like it should, from the frozen cliffsides to the ample forests that are oh so terrifying to be flooring your car through. Surprisingly, the game's not that taxing, and even a colleague's less than powerful computer barely missed a beat running it. Sadly, this also means I have much less opportunity to blame the frame rate for my terrible driving. The cars, however, are a bit of a mixed bag. Visually they're not much to look at, but do accurately recreate their real-life counterparts, down to being plastered with brand livery. However, they all sound amazing and perform differently enough from each other that I'm going to say, while I've never actually driven a rally car, I'm imagining the handling characteristics are accurate. Codemasters have also done a great job of crafting a soundscape that changes convincingly as you change gears, tear around corners and barrel through torrential rain. I challenge you to try driving in cockpit view with headphones on and not giggle with excitement over how good it sounds.
Into right 5, half long, 130.
If you've watched any of my previous racer reviews, you'll know that I use a racing wheel, and I can say conclusively that it is vital to make sure everything is set up correctly so the game can give you the right kinds of feedback. I personally found I needed to turn my force feedback up quite a bit to maximise my ability to make small corrections on the track. Turning things up made it much easier to feel all those bumps and dips, especially when I missed what my co-driver was saying. As mentioned previously, the game is very unforgiving of mistakes and doesn't care how well you're doing in a championship if you run off the track. It really requires a lot of concentration. Listening to your co-driver is vital, as some of the tracks have a tendency to be a bit confusing with offshoots sometimes looking like the direction you're supposed to go. The less damage to your car, the better your performance, so it can sometimes be better to slow things down a bit and take it easy. But you'll also find some of your opponents verge on the superhuman, and staying ahead of the pack will definitely challenge your abilities. Given the hyper-realism of Dirt Rally, it may not be for everyone. It looks and sounds amazing, and there's definitely a market out there for this type of game. I've enjoyed the challenge, and if you're looking for something that's going to test you, or is just a little bit different from other games, I totally recommend picking this up.